Welcome to All the Horror Podcast. Each episode will feature a spine-tingling, creepy horror story that will keep you awake. Enjoy the story.
Listeners, prepare yourselves for a bone-chilling tale that will make your blood run cold. Join me as I recount the harrowing experience of a young man on a restless night as he finds himself pursued by an unidentified figure through the desolate roads of rural Italia. Brace yourselves for a journey into the unknown, where danger lurks at every turn. Have you ever felt the presence of an unknown figure in the darkness? That bone-chilling realization that something sinister is following your every move? Today, I have a story that will send shivers down your spine. A story that unfolded on the lonely roads of 1960s Italia. Brace yourselves, dear listeners, as we embark on a journey into the heart of terror. This story comes to us through the recollections of the uncle of one of my closest friends during a memorable Christmas vacation filled with family gatherings and ghostly tales. My friend's uncle reluctantly decided to share his own spine-tingling experience. To set the stage, let me transport you to rural Italia, near the town of Modena, where my friend's family resided in the 1980s. Nestled on a farm just a few kilometers from the small city, their home seemed peaceful and far removed from anything remotely eerie. This is where our story begins, with my friend's uncle, whom we shall call Uncle, and his vintage motorbike, a small, hybrid machine that could be pedaled or driven using its limited fuel tank. Uncle's strict mother imposed a curfew of 10 p.m., adding yet another layer to his already regulated life. Seeking solace from the sometimes oppressive atmosphere at home, he would often take his bike to the nearby city, enjoying a leisurely ride before returning home before curfew. The road to the city was an isolated farm road, populated by a handful of farmhouses, half of which were abandoned. Uncle would ride his motorbike until he reached Modena, where he would switch off the engine and pedal through the city silently, so as not to disturb the residents with the noise of his vintage vehicle. One fateful night, while taking a brief moment to relax in a park, Uncle unexpectedly fell into a deep slumber. When he awoke, disoriented and groggy, he found himself surrounded by pitch-black darkness. Time had slipped away, and it was almost 11 p.m., a realization that filled him with a sense of dread. Aware of the consequences of arriving home late, he hastily mounted his bike, pedaling as fast as he could towards the edge of the city, where he planned to switch on the motor and accelerate his journey back home. Just as he left the park, a figure caught his eye. A tall, cloaked being crossing the main street ahead. Though taken aback, Uncle's focus remained fixed on reaching home as quickly as possible. He rode past the figure without dwelling on its presence, but couldn't shake the feeling of being watched or followed. Turning his head, he was shocked to see the cloaked figure pursuing him with an unnatural, stiff gait, surprisingly fast and determined. Genuine fear gripped Uncle's heart as he shouted for the figure to leave him alone, explaining his urgent need to return home. The figure remained silent, relentless in its pursuit. With each passing moment, the chase intensified. Determined to escape, Uncle increased his speed, only to find the figure running after him with an eerie, lanky stride that defied logic. Overwhelmed by terror, Uncle's mind raced. He knew he was approaching the city's edge, with just 1 kilometer separating him from the farm road leading home. Desperate to distance himself from the relentless figure, he made a bold decision. He switched on the engine, risking awakening the slumbering city dwellers in his desperate attempt to elude his pursuer. As the engine roared to life, Uncle experienced a momentary sense of relief, watching the gap between him and the figure gradually expand. Yet, his relief was short-lived. After a few minutes of swift riding, he was compelled to stop, gasping for breath and attempting to compose himself before arriving home in a panicked state, curfew or not. He steadied his bike, momentarily finding respite in the darkness. Suddenly, a strange stomping noise echoed in the distance. In the pitch-black night, Uncle strained to discern its origin, knowing only that it was drawing nearer. Panic surged within him, his eyes darting wildly in search of the unseen threat. In a desperate bid for illumination, he switched on the front light of his bike, followed by the rear red light, hoping to catch a glimpse of the approaching danger. And there it was, the cloaked figure that had pursued him through the city, now hurtling towards him in the distance, moving on all fours like a rabid dog poised to strike. Uncertainty, fear, and sheer horror gripped Uncle's every fiber. In a state of shock, he managed to break free of his paralysis just in time. Igniting the engine, he accelerated with all his might, hurtling forward at breakneck speed, determined to put as much distance as possible between himself and the nightmarish creature. For what seemed like an eternity, Uncle rode on, long past his home, desperate to escape the clutches of the cloaked figure. Fear drove him further into the night, until exhaustion and the realization of his ultimate distance from the creature compelled him to take a momentary respite. He pulled over, dismounted his bike, and attempted to collect himself, his heart pounding with lingering terror. Every detail of the encounter haunted his memory, etching itself into his very soul. Reliving the tale, my friend's uncle appeared visibly uncomfortable, his voice laden with an unease that even time could not erase. The memory of that last part, the sight of the cloaked figure rushing towards him on all fours, remained etched in his mind, a chilling reminder of a night he would rather forget. Dear listeners, this is the spine-chilling account of a young man's ordeal on the desolate roads of rural Italia. It serves as a grim reminder that even in the tranquility of the countryside, darkness may lurk in unexpected forms, and the line between reality and nightmare can blur in an instant. As we conclude this haunting tale, let us remember that some encounters defy explanation, leaving us forever marked by the terrors that lie hidden in the shadows. Thank you for joining me on this unsettling journey. Stay tuned for more stories that delve into the depths of the unknown, where the boundary between the living and the otherworldly is but a whisper away. And remember, be cautious when you roam the roads alone. Some dangers cannot be outrun.